The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Cashman Mind, Body, Spirit Show. Today we're going to be speaking about exercise and the benefits to you. Be sure to check with your doctor and provider so that he approves anything that you might decide to do. For example, I played pickleball today, but that's not for everybody, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But one thing that affects all of us that are getting a day older, which all living things are doing, is that our muscles get a little bit weaker. And especially so starting around age 40 or so. There's a term for it now called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia. It begins at age 40 or so. It's a dynamic process of muscle breakdown. Every day when we're doing something, even just walking, there is some muscle breakdown, and the amino acids, which are about 20 or so, accumulate in our body. And our body uses them to repair and build new muscles. That happens to us every day. And what's interesting is that about 80% of our needs for proteins are recycled amino acids in our body that broke down that day or the last 24 hours or so. You only need an additional 20%, yes, the essential amino acids. And I think sometimes that is not mentioned by pharmaceutical companies and bodybuilders or so. They can consuming so much more meat than they need to. If you consume more protein than your body needs, which can be from vegetables or can be from meat, okay, is that it's converted to sugar. Converted to sugar. What you think is more muscles actually is more fat if the sugar is not used up. It's converted to fat. Yeah. Many people don't know that. So let's talk about sarcopenia, which it can affect all of us. So you can avoid that or even improve more than that by a modest program of regular resistance training, meaning maybe some light weights, maybe even a walk, which represents exercise of choice to build new muscle mass as we age. And pick the exercise that you like. Okay, for some people it's walking, some people lifting light weights. For the easiest thing you do is to increase your activity of living. Yeah, increase your NEAT. Non-exercise activity, thermogenic. And I'll speak more about that a little bit later. I want you to understand that, because if you can increase your activity of living, your requirements of having to go to a gym and work out is less. That is really the easiest way. And you might have a look at your NEAT activities, and I'll get you to understand that a little better. If you say you have 9 weeks and you increase, lift some light weights, light weights, for example, or walk more, or stretch more, or play your favorite sport more. If you do it 3 times a week for half hour, you will increase your muscle strength for about 30%. That's big. That's big. And also, your bone density increases, which is important because along with our loss of muscle mass, our bones get more brittle, and you're more likely to have a fracture as you get a day older. And falls are more common as we get older because we're weaker. Our bones are weaker, we're more likely to have a serious injury. And and maybe increase your protein intake a little bit. I normally teach people to eat about 20% protein, 70% good fats. Yes, 70% good fats, 20% protein, 50% vegetables and fruit. Yeah, vegetables are not quite the friend that you think. They're important, but so is good fats and protein. So upgrade your protein a bit as you get a day older. Eggs are actually good. Some good meat, some poultry, some fish. There's a very good book written by a Dr. Silver, a PhD fitness instructor, and he explains sarcopenia a little bit more, and let's kind of go through his book a little bit. Here's the cover of his book, just in case that you're going to read the whole thing, because I have quotes here from many books. I can't just totally get everything out of one book, but let's kind of look at a few things which he wrote down. And another growing concern among the elderly, okay, one that's kind of like me, 39 years old for the 47th time, added up. But the good news is, yesterday I had my annual Medicare physical, and all my laboratory tests came back normal. And I would like you to know, and maybe in the next show I'll hold you up the results of my lab tests like I've done in previous shows. And also, I'm on no medication whatsoever. And I'm just trying to teach you, and I practice what I teach you. So as we get older, we decrease in muscle mass and strength with age. It's called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia. The term sarcopenia was first used over 15 years ago by Dr. William Evans and Irvin Rosenberg in the landmark book. It's a good one. Biomarkers, the keys to prolonged vitality. Yes, I recommend you go to the library where I'm at now, or go on Amazon and buy the book. Sarcopenia refers to an overall weakening of the body caused by gradual, decades-long loss of muscle mass. So it's a little bit at a time. Sarcopenia occurs moderately in 35%, and moderately in 35% of the people, and severely in 10% of the U.S. population age 65 and older, 60 and over, and contributes approximately $18 billion per year in healthcare costs. And when you think about it, as you look around, attend meetings, and you're looking at other people, you notice a lot of them are bent over a lot more. A lot of them have canes. A lot of them have wheelchairs. And many of them have significant sarcopenia, and that all could have been avoided. Okay? Individuals shown have severe sarcopenia are 2 to 5 times more likely to have a disability. And this is what I described to you. The reduction in muscle mass and strength as individual age has significant repercussions with the ability to perform activities of daily living. Yeah, the things you do, ability to climb stairs, ability not to take a fall, ability to walk without a limp are related to sarcopenia. A lot of people that are doing this, or that someone else is having to assist to get them off the chair, they are people with sarcopenia, okay? So it's a variety of factors: loss of muscle weakness, increases in fat. A lot of times the muscles that are lost are replaced by fat. And so it is complex. In other words, I encourage you to increase your activities, and we will discuss that in more detail. Another one I recommend to you as we get a day older, and I've experienced it myself, that we can have some increase in balance exercises, and they can be avoided. For example, I play pickleball. I don't recommend that to everyone because it takes good balance. You've got to decide that for yourself, and that you can remain balanced as you go on, and it is by having strong muscles, strong bones, and here's a few exercises that I like to recommend to you. Some 5-minute balance exercises for seniors, a 30-day plan, a workout plan by Alfred Allen is a very simple book. You can buy it real cheap on Amazon or go to the library and get it. I'll just give you a few examples because I do some of them, and it depends how mobile that you are. You can march in place. A good one to track. Now, I recently bought a smart watch, and they are very good at tracking your steps. For example, they can track your oxygen level. They can track your sleep. I bought one that even tracks your blood sugar. Yes, VistaMD.com, VYSTAMD.com is a watch I have that tracks 9 different factors, and one is the blood sugar. I just want, and I don't guarantee that is reliable, but I've checked myself when I'm hungry, when I've eaten, and everything. I found it actually to be accurate. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed. To have a Dexcom or lifestyle thing on your arm to measure your blood sugar if you have a problem or want to learn about blood sugars, I think should be accurate. I don't want anyone to adjust their insulin level or something based on a smartwatch, but it makes you think in terms of health, and I'm using it now to help teach other people. Heel to toe walking is a good one. I do a little bit of that in the morning. Jogging in place. These are things that are fairly safe. A grapevine is good exercises where you are crossing the legs and just keep on going sideways, constantly crossing the leg. These will improve your balance because you will indeed develop balance problems as we get a day older. Although I've played tennis and pickleball and walk and dance, for example, and I tap dance, would you believe it? But my balance appears to be good, but I feel like it is a little bit impaired. So another one I like is tight rope walking. So you walk on a straight line and make sure that you're in your surroundings. If you happen to fall, that you can grab a bed or a chair. Have your arms out to the side, for example, on both sides. That's a good exercise also. And there are many others in here. Like you could be in a chair, lift one leg and do circles with a leg is another good one. But anyway, what I'm saying is this would be a good book for you to get to keep balance, and that can be at any age. I know people that are not balanced well even at a very young age, okay? And let me recommend something else to you while we're on the subject of what do I do. I think joining the YMCA, and I'm not endorsing any one religion here, and I noticed at the Y they don't ask you what religion you are. Anybody can go there. And I go the one at Homestead, so does my wife. And what I like about it, like at my tender age, that Medicare will pay for it. Yes, I go in there, it costs me nothing. I show my ID, and there I am. They have very good things like exercise machines, and I would generally recommend the light ones. As I walk in, I'm sure it's the same at both Ys. They have this set of 10 machines. They'll train you how to use them, and if you use them regularly, I think you will maintain. I don't think you'll get sarcopenia. I mean, go in there 3 days a week and do that for 15 minutes. Other things I notice there too, they have great yoga classes. Matter of fact, one of the ladies that attended every one of my lectures I gave for years at Lutheran Hospital before the COVID, once a month I gave a talk. She was there every darn time, and she must have listened because she's got a class, Cindy I think is her name, and her daughter teaches some of that, and she does an hour session combination of yoga and dancing and laughter and this balance exercise, the stretching exercise. She gives the most wonderful class in the world as far as I'm concerned. And I'm so glad it's her because some of that, what she's doing, she had to have learned by attending my talks. Cindy, you're doing a great job. And that the Y has this available on rainy days, on cold days, on warm days. You can swim outside. I think you can swim inside too. Many different types of exercise. You do what you think you can do or your doctor has approved. Considering the health condition you may have, always check it out with your provider. And to attend these classes, I think 2 or 3 days a week would be a wonderful idea. Yoga is another thing that I recommend because you can do it so many different ways. The science of yoga, understanding the anatomy and physiology. This is the most wonderful book. Again, you can get in the library. It won't cost you anything, or you can buy it. And it gives you in great detail. And there's only some of those, that you can do. You can't do every one of those, but maybe pick 2 or 3. And it talks about cautions, things. You can get injured doing it, some of these poses. So pick the poses that you can do. If you just do one of them, like you do a squat and put your hands up forward and just hold it for a number of minutes, your muscles will get stronger. You will be more balanced. And give you a chance to find out what you can do. So pick the ones that you think that help you. They help avoid chronic pain. They respond to your autonomic nervous system, and they can help keep your independence. Yoga practice, you can do it at home. They can teach you the Y or someplace, or private instructor, and do this. So I think, and there's different types of yoga. Some with movement. You get Qigong and Tai Chi, and you have a look at those. You can go on YouTube and see examples, but maybe adopt one of these that fits into your life. Another place I found to go for exercise, and I did it years ago, then I stopped, but I'll tell you some many stories. Planet Fitness, they were charging $10 a month. $10 a month. And to make it cheap, because a lot of places you got to pay $1,000 a year, and things like that. At $10 a month. It started, 10, 15 years ago, and I used to go over there regularly. and then they have machines, and I think I made a mistake there because I was constantly trying to increase my weight, 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and doing reps with them. My experience and my reading since that time, it might be best to stop at 5, 8, 10 pounds. And if you feel like you need to get stronger, then increase the repetitions. Instead of doing 10 reps, do 15 or so. If you have any pain, if you develop pain doing it, then stop. Wait a few days, and maybe that might be the limit. That might be your limit. If it took 8 and pain began, that is your limit. You don't want to, and they have found that if you exercise and you get into pain and you keep on, well, I'll exercise out of the pain, it may get worse. You may get to the point you get bursitis, inflammation of the ligaments around a joint, and you can't raise your arm up anymore. Actually, I did that. I kind of pushed it to the beginning of pain, and I thought, well, I'll wait a while and then increase the reps. Don't do that. As long as you're doing some of the activity, doing yoga or Tai Chi, and try to include some movement with it so that your heart, and you can do that by getting, say, on the machines. But again, check with your doctor. You may be exceeding what you can do, and don't increase your rate of activity of exercise before you know it. Your heart is giving you a message. So this has to be followed by providers, your own knowledge, maybe some reading. Interesting enough, when I went to Planet Fitness years ago, I'll tell you a lovely story. While in the locker room, a seriously overweight truck driver came up to me and he said, Dr. Cashman, I understand you teach some nutrition to people. And I taught him my program of eating 70% good fats, 20% protein, 15% vegetables, sort of a keto way, K-E-T-O, a way of eating, which is the latest science, actually. Vegetarians are good, you're better, but then again, I think keto is indeed better. So I taught this to him, and I think what he would do is take his truck from California, which was delivering pizzas, I think, to New York. He would stop in Fort Wayne, park his truck way back in the parking lot, go work out, and then sleep in his truck to save some money. So about 6-9 months, he comes by and he walks up to me. He says, look at me, Dr. Cashman. He had lost about 50 pounds. His diabetes went away, and he's feeling much better. And he made me walk out to the truck. He said, inspect my truck. So I'm going up the steps. Don't do that, okay? The steps are like this. I almost fell backwards out of the truck. But I had a picture taken of him and me, and I asked him if I could put this in my TV shows, but he said my wife would never allow it. Okay, so I never did do it, but I have that picture at home. If you want to see it, let me know. Truck drivers, if you're listening and you're a truck driver, that can be a health problem. I found myself that probably 95% of truck drivers are overweight. That means they get diabetes. That means they're driving down the road with elevated blood sugars. Mm-hmm. Check it. Get your blood sugar checks, because they have to stop at fast food restaurants, and a lot of them are eating bad food. But a significant number now are bringing the food from home or cooking in the back of the truck themselves. So things are getting better. But truck drivers concern me more than average, because I think they have a high diabetic rate. And let's be open-minded. We're not being derogatory. They got to make a living too, like the rest of us, okay? And if they didn't work, they wouldn't deliver the clothes and the food that we're eating, okay? So nothing derogatory, but again, they need to look at their blood test. Matter of fact, anybody watching, the blood test is the bottom line. You can be thin, yes, and have diabetes. It's your blood tests that count, yes. It's the fat located in your liver and in your pancreas that determines your metabolic health. Mm-hmm. It's not just that you're overweight. There are plenty of people that are overweight that are not diabetic. Get blood tested, get glucose tolerance tests, get a serum insulin, because the serum insulin is elevated 10, 15 years before the blood sugar ever goes up. And during this time, changes occur in your body, although you have no symptoms. So please get blood screening tests. You can see that in my other YouTube shows where I talk about diabetes and tests I recommend. So I think this is very important. So the science of yoga, I said yoga is a good way. And so many of us today really are sentenced to the chair. We used to work outside. We used to make a living outside. But now we're sitting in a chair during our work, and we're not moving any longer. And so every hour that you sit and watch TV, your life expectancy goes down 22 minutes. They have scientifically proven that, yes. And so one way of exercising, especially if you don't have time and to make it more convenient, is to do non-exercise activity, thermogenics, NEAT activity, okay? And that is including in your routine activities of your life, your work, your living and around the house, that you burn a great deal of calories, stretch your muscles, and get stronger from doing NEAT activity. And I will explain that in more detail. What they have done now, they even invented a treadmill standing desk where you can do your work while you're on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. I don't hear as much about them lately as I did in years past, but you're standing, you're exercising, so that's a NEAT activity, okay? So sitting causes obesity and diabetes. We have a sitting society in Jamaica, for example, where the Jamaicans used to be these beautiful natives. Columbus saw them too. Very fit, you can see the muscles. But things have changed. They moved into the city, they're not moving as much, they become overweight, and almost 95% are diabetic and getting the diseases of diabetes, which are about 30 different diseases, from dementia to heart attacks to strokes to increased rates of cancer, all diabetic diseases. I have other shows on that. You can go YouTube, Rudy Cashman, look for the diabetes shows to explain that in more detail. So calories have increased because of urbanization. In Jamaica and many other islands too, the obesity epidemic and the diabetes epidemic rates are going sky high because they moved to the city. And and they moved into Kingston, for example, and their health collapsed, okay? So we had the rise of Sheridan. It was, for instance, I wrote a book here, Sitting Disease is Killing Us. It's a book, you can get it on Amazon, Learn How to Prevent Sitting Disease, and I explain it in more detail, because you will need more, we all need more detail, for example. And so I visited one time an Amish farm. I was taking care of a patient, and they needed the stitches removed in 10 days. And I thought to myself, I want to see what their life is like. So with a friend who I met at Starbucks, I said to him, "You would have an unusual day, join me, because I'm going to go to an Amish farm." And he jumped in the car and went with me, and it was a most unusual day. First thing that I noticed, and they put us on a table and fed us lunch. Well, first we removed the lady's stitches with about 30 Amish people watching me. Every stitch I pulled right back at me. That was interesting in itself, but they all looked healthy. They all looked healthy, yeah. And we sat down at the table, and I must say the food they put down there, from mashed potatoes and things for dessert and pie for dessert, and the food didn't look very good to me. No, it did not. There was a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugar. Fortunately, there was a dog standing right next to me, and I was able to feed him most of the food while they were looking. Well, they were not looking. And I said to myself, how come they're all healthy? They're eating nothing but lousy food, and which would make me sick pretty quickly. They had good need activity. Their activities of every day of working in the farm, using the utensils, and they had very, very busy lives. Yeah. They had a great deal of activities, which is burning up the calories, which is not true, for most of us. Then to top it off, they pulled out some little songbooks, and they knew I had lived in Germany as a child. And we sang German songs for about an hour after that. Yeah. It was a great day. So, so they are getting away with eating sugary foods, a lot of potatoes, for example, and potatoes are sugar. Potatoes are sugar. But they're burning it up right away with their activity, versus most of us who have sitting disease don't burn it up, and if we don't use it up, it gets either stored, it gets stored as fat, and we get overweight, and because we're overweight, we're not moving as much, and things get worse. So the energy that is released from fat is a lot more, 9 calories per gram. So stored fat represents the body's biggest source of energy. We have, but we don't, and depending on the amount of fat we have in our body, if you're way overweight, as a matter of fact, they've shown one way overweight person lived a year without eating anything. And the fat provided the energy that he needed. We only have about 2,000 calories of energy stored as carbohydrates, 100 grams in the liver times 4, so it's 400 calories in the liver, and then about another 400 or so in our muscles. Our muscles have in it quite a bit of fat. As a matter of fact, a thin person like myself, I don't have any visible fat that I can feel, but still in my body, about 40,000 kilocalories of fat. If I were to run in a marathon, and I would run through my glycogen a matter of hours, I then would go into fat metabolism, and the fat would provide the energy. So when people take statin drugs, and I'm concerned about it, I didn't say to stop the statin drug, did I? Or I didn't say to start a statin drug, okay? I didn't say to start it, I didn't say to stop it, but do some reading. I've looked up the science of statin drugs. When I see that almost 80% of the people in this area are on the statin drugs interfere with the metabolic pathways of 10 different pathways. Yes. And they cause diabetes, they cause vascular disease, yet almost the whole nation is on it. I think something funny is going on here, because I have 3 friends now who've had all kind of back surgery because they have a very weak back, but statins cause muscle weakness. I see them in hospitals here in Fort Wayne. I had a nurse check about 200 people at a certain hospital in town whether they were taking a statin drug, and they were, and they all had cardiac bypass surgery. The statin caused it. Read Toxic Effect of Statins by a guy named Evans. Many other books. I have about 8 books at home that the toxic effect of statins is one after the other. Yet this country has been mesmerized by these pharmaceutical companies. I was watching a YouTube show, I think Paul Mason, I think it was his name, YouTube, yesterday, and he went through physiology of statins, and he could see very, very little benefit. Cardiologists are caught up on this especially so. I know one cardiologist takes a statin himself, and he's severely disabled. I wonder what caused that. Certainly is on the list. I didn't say start it. I didn't say stop it. Without reading about it, Toxic Effect of Statins by Evans. Graveline, I wrote a Dark Side of Statins by Graveline. I could name you book after book. So you want to get that out, that you know. Look at YouTube and gain some information. Don't just take that script. It's my recommendation. But so when we're exercising, like at rest, we're largely at rest, we're living about 60% fats, 35% sugar and glycogen. There's only about a teaspoonful of sugar in your blood. Yeah, you want to guess that is true. Very little, so it has to be replaced pretty quickly. If you're doing light to moderate exercise, it's about 55% of fats and 40% of glucose and glycogen. And if you're just going away on high exercise, it's glucose and glycogen 95%. But you'll wear out pretty quick. Remember what I said? It's short term. And so at first we use up the glucose and the glycogen and some fat, but eventually we have to get into fat metabolism. And so carbohydrate is the preferred fuel during intense exercise because it has to be rapidly to affect the ATP, your adenosine triphosphate, your energy molecule. So intense exercise also increases epinephrine, norepinephrine, and glucagon decreases the insulin release. So eventually you use the glycogen, which doesn't need insulin, and then you go into fat metabolism. So 1 hour of intense exercise and the liver glycogen is down 50%. 2 hours depletes it. All glycogen is gone in about 2 hours. Wow. And glucose uptake increases 7 to 20 times during intense exercise. Carbohydrate predominates when you're in anaerobic activity. You're going so fast, the oxygen is not catching up to you. And so protein is not used for energy. It helps repair the muscle, but there's very little energy available in protein. People can do it when they're starving to death, but then their body will essentially disappear. So sudden strenuous exercise too can be harmful to the heart and can cause drops in blood sugar. So you have to be aware of that, especially if you're a diabetic, but it can happen to anybody. Diabetics, I say, watch out. If you're a diabetic, especially on medication, and you're going into intense exercise, you may not tolerate it, okay? You can have glycogen depletion, and it's like hitting a wall. And athletes can feel it. They just can't go on. Lactic acid has increased in their body. They want anaerobic metabolism, lactic acid metabolism. So, but a regular exercise does improve the capacity for activating the fat stores and glycogen stores, and so that's really quite important. Let's go through the history of exercise a little bit. I mean, it goes back in history, obviously, thousands of years. But around the 4th century, the root of exercise, the 4th century, was a Greek physician named Hippocrates, and it was called hygiene. That was called, that it was nothing supernatural. We didn't know about science at that time. It was hygiene was another word for exercise. So it was actually the Greek word for health was hygiene. Interesting. So moderation was the golden rule of hygiene, that you be moderate about it. Then we had the Industrial Revolution and fitness in the 18th century. We moved from the farms to the cities, and we studied more strenuous exercises because we had more sedentary jobs. We were sitting down a lot more. So the focus was on health maintenance, but not prevention. It was maintaining your health. And then came along a system of exercise called Grahamism, or muscular Christianity, and exercises recommended in the churches. It began around 1830. Sylvester Graham was a cornerstone of the vegetarian diet, and the Graham cracker came from that. And there was a Victorian notion in those years that sex was bad for you, was bad for your health. And so strenuous exercise was recommended, running over walking a mile or so, but not more than that. Singing was allowed only in the churches. Yeah, I mean, there was no dancing allowed, and Grahamism was mainly in the northeastern states, and had not a huge number of people involved with it, but it was well known. It's written about in history. And then we developed muscular Christianity, another movement, and they focus on exertion and bodybuilding, and big-time bodybuilding. Had a profound impact, and it was elevated. This form of exercising was elevated to a spiritual level. Half the churches elevated to Grahamism, muscular Christianity, and in 1860, gymnastics was increased by a gentleman named Lewis, and the Germans called it Turnverein. I lived in Germany as a child, so I remember them saying that. And then that moved to the United States. Catherine Beecher taught exercise to females, and the Lewis system was adopted by the schools, and the sergeant system was about to. And we get into weightlifting mania. Weight training was huge. But remember what I said. When you're lifting more weights than your body is capable, you're going to start tearing off muscles and ligaments, and the next day have quite a bit of pain, and the next day more pain. So I don't particularly recommend huge amount of constantly increasing the amount of weights that we are living. There was a gentleman you may have all heard about, Jack LaLanne. He died at age 96 a few years ago. Interesting book to read, a lot of pictures in there. and he carried it to extremes, but his recommendations were good. I'm not sure I agree with all his dietary recommendations, just like in the YMCA. Although I love their programs, I'm not certain that their dietary recommendations is what I would follow. At least I would gather a lot of other information, because the science has changed. We're now into ketogenic type eating, which to me is a lot healthier than just the vegetarian way, because there's so many lectins and glutens and even arsenic in vegetables. Yeah, vegetables millions of years ago, who was eating the bacteria and the viruses? They had to defend themselves. So vegetables developed a lot of toxins, a lot of which are not around anymore, but still, some are still here, like lectins and glutens. And believe it or not, even in spinach, there's some cyanide. We just don't eat a lot of it, so it doesn't hurt us. That's in the literature. You can look it up. And this is a very good book, and he talks about, staying hydrated and using your muscles and doing stretching, and he has great pictures in the book. His dog is joining him and imitating the exercises. Yes, he's kind of like a guy like me, and he said something which I think we have to remember: the food you eat today is walking and talking on you tomorrow. So watch what you eat. So diet, diet is important, and he has a very good book to read and adopt some things from there. But I'm not sure his nutrition teaching is as good as I would like it. I'm sure people don't always agree with what I have to say. Take the best, leave the rest. Sometimes we don't know what the best is. So, and when they were developing gyms over the years, and we started paying attention more to the athlete's heart in the 1900s. So, because we pump blood to the muscles. Now we start learning a little bit about biochemistry. But it's worse today. I mean, look around. I went to the zoo the other day, and I'm looking at the mothers, 60, 70% overweight. Their children looked a little healthier. That's because, my opinion is they're more active, but as their activity level goes down, as their NEAT activity goes down, they're eating the same food they've become addicted to now, they will look like their mothers and be unhealthy. We're seeing a tremendous amount of diabetes in young people now. That needs to be prevented because it has so many diseases and sudden deaths and heart attack associated with it. And they had gyms called Gold's Gym, and they were all over the country, about 600 outlets. I went to some of them, and the machines, treadmills, weight stretching mats, aerobic, yoga. I went to Planet Fitness, which is like a Gold's Gym, similar thing, and I compliment them. They helped us all. In the 1900s, about 8% of people died from heart disease, but in 1960, about 40%, and now it's probably like 60%. Yes, we were getting a bit older. We used to live till age 40 in the 1900s. Now we have a longer life, but now my doctor said to me yesterday with all my blood tests, and almost says, Rudy, you plan to live to be 100? You're right. You're right. Well, I'm teaching it. I don't know. But there's no reason for people actually to die unless they don't eat properly, exercise properly. Maybe they don't increase their NEAT activities, which would be a good thing. And Jack LaLanne published a book on sitting disease. So did I, incidentally. Speaker Paul Bragg said, "My friends, it matters not what your age is. It matters not what your physical condition is. If you obey nature's laws, you can be born again, eat correctly, and exercise." Now, there's a good one for you. No matter what your age is, no matter if you're watching your show and you get some of the diseases I spoke about, step up to bat, do some reading, start walking, increase your NEAT activities. If you don't want to go to a gym, if you can, then go to the Y or Planet Fitness, or take a walk and sing to the birds like I do. So step up. You must get motivated. Relax. Don't get mad in the past. Look at the future. If you exercise and get some rhythm into it, there's some music in exercise, and I even wrote a book about it, Secrets of Motivating Yourself to Wellness, okay? And I have on page 61 of the picture of myself dancing, the dance of life, okay? And exercise and rhythm, if you do that, if you bring music to it, positive thinking to it, you're more likely to do it. Learn the dance of life. One of the secrets of motivating yourself to wellness: all types of dance are great. I'm speaking about a combination of rhythm and movement to improve your longevity and intelligence. That's why a lot of people listen to music while they're walking. But I do it even when I'm driving. I once drove to the wrong town because I was listening to Pavarotti, and it pulled me in. So be careful. You could increase your chance of an accident, but at least my eyes were looking at the road. And I've done dancing for years. I even tap dance now because it's fun. Yeah, I tap dance on a regular basis, and I have certain songs that I like, and I ask Alexa to bring it up, and I tap dance to it. I have a Molly floor the size of this table at home in the basement, and I tap dance on that. Makes me feel good. I'm exercising my muscles. My legs are getting stronger. My mind is getting stronger. Occasionally, I might even sing to it. I wouldn't necessarily say you'd like to hear me sing, but I'm getting better at it. Would you believe it? Just like I'm getting better at pickleball, although I'm 39 for the 47th time. And so positive thinking is important. Another good one really is to have a purpose in life. And I feel like I'm so lucky because I do this health teaching. I'm a doctor after all, and that's my job. I do it through TV, radio. I demonstrate it myself. YouTube, Facebook, podcasting now. And so I have a purpose. If I see you get well, I'm happy. I don't look back, I look forward. So get this kind of an attitude. Another book I want to recommend, How to 2 Years, Move a Little, Lose a Lot. This, I think, is a critical book, well written, full of science, by James Levine. He's the one who really brought up this term, no gym, no diet, but big weight loss, to increase your exercise activity that you do regularly without having to attend a gym somewhere. Increase your NEAT by walking, by activity in the house, maybe using the stairs instead of the elevator. And I know I lived in Florida, a winter home, and it was like the 14th floor. I didn't use the elevator. I just walked up, Yes. So I was increasing my need. I took a walk outside along the ocean, increasing my need. Played tennis every day. And but again, pick the sport that you like. Hopefully there is a sport. And maybe yours is a mind sport. That has value too. My mother's sister lived to be 99 with a perfectly normal memory. She played cards every day, so that has some value. So learn the activities that improve your life, that make you think more, that builds up your muscles more. And maybe if you're working every day, get a stand-up desk or a treadmill desk where you're doing activity while you're working. You're getting your exercise done. You're getting your neat activity done while you work. And you can buy some of these products online, staminaproducts.com, and get something that you like, not that I like, that you would like, and maybe make a list of neat activities that you're doing. Make a list, and make a list of ones that you plan to do, because calorie burn increases tremendously if you increase your neat activity, and if you're overeating a little bit, your calorie burn will go down. But I would spend some time too, because what you eat is the most important of all the things, so that you learn that a very good book to read there is by Susan Ryan, Simply Keto, and she explains keto in the first 60 pages, and then pictures of the recipes if you feel like you want to lose a little bit of weight. If you get diabetes, the most critical thing, I find that after reading another book, and this one it comes out of England, and I'm going to be speaking about that one on my diabetic show, which I do next today for a half hour. It is a gentleman named Taylor. They have done studies now to show the most critical thing to get rid of diabetes, even if you're thin, type 2 diabetes we're talking about, is weight loss. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to do if you increase your neat activity, and if you change the type of food that you're eating. Incidentally, like I do, no reason to, except it's the way it is. Fasting, eating 2 meals a day, 16-8, 16, I don't know, 8, no particular reason. I'm not hungry in the morning because your body secretes hormones that keep the blood sugar very even. That's a big trick, fasting. Learn about fasting because it's lasting for your life. So thank you for listening to my little talk here on exercise, and I could go on for 2 or 3 days. But I think you have gained some knowledge. Exercise is maybe 20-30% of health. The rest is type of food that you're eating. So learn about the keto way. I have a book on Amazon, reads Keto 16-8, simple to read, and you'll be in the right path. So we'll speak more about this as time goes on, but maybe have a look at some of these books. You can get them at the library or Amazon, but don't just look at the cover. Read it. Incidentally, my basement has in it 2,000 books, and I read every damn one of them. Why did I do that? So I could teach and run this TV show to get information to you, which gets translated into YouTube within a week, and it's going even to other nations. I know India translated into other languages, which makes me very happy. I have a purpose in life, so I want you to develop a purpose and be happier and play me pickleball when you're 100. Thanks for listening. Namaste.